Hey, good people. How y'all doing? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you guys so much for your support. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. In today's video, I am giving you all my review on The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, Season 12, Episode 13. Let's go. So at the start of the episode, we see that Crystal, Kyle, and Diana all have COVID or have been exposed to COVID. We start off at Lisa Rinna's house. She's inviting all of the women to a wine tasting that she's hosting. Rinna is coming out with what she calls Rinna Rosé. And I don't know, for whatever reason, when I was sitting there watching this, I'm just thinking, Lisa Vanderpump. She was just so good for the show, and I know that we'll probably never see her on The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills or representing The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills in any way, shape, or form, but I miss her. We could get rid of Lisa Rinna and bring Lisa Vanderpump back. That's just my opinion. Now we're over at Sutton's house. She is there with her children, and try as I might, I don't recall the last time or if I've even ever seen Sutton with her children. So this is really interesting. She's there with her son and her daughter, and she's explaining that her son wanted to go to the army because he felt like he had a very comfortable life. So she's like in her confessional, because he felt like he had a comfortable life, I wanted to make his life uncomfortable. So over the summer, she sent him out to her hometown of Augusta, Georgia, and she made him work in the summer and do all of the things. And when she came back to pick him up, he told her he no longer wanted to be a part of the army. So he's now going to enroll in what's called the Citadel, and I'm not quite sure what that is. If I'm not mistaken, I believe it's like a school to train you for the army or something like that. This is the first time I think I've ever heard of it, so I don't really know. I want to say though that it was really nice to see Sutton with her children, to see what her dynamic with them is. One thing about Sutton, in my opinion, I feel like she's just always going to be who she is. And as awkward as she comes across and as weird as she comes across, I believe that she is comfortable in her skin. And I just enjoyed seeing this little snippet of her life, to be honest with you. Dorit and Garcelle are going out to lunch, and Garcelle says that past hurdles are a wash now. They can enjoy each other and move on. That's where she's at with her relationship with Dorit, and I love to see it. I really, really, truly do. Garcelle explains to Dorit that she's written a book, and in her confessional, she says that she's actually had an experience with Bill Cosby that she describes as scary. I can only imagine, given all the allegations that have come across regarding Bill Cosby. I do really enjoy Garcelle on The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, and I know that she had a book out. To be honest with you guys, I really wasn't into the book. Is that okay? I don't know, but maybe I'll read it because I'm interested to see what she has to say about Bill Cosby. I did read like a couple of articles where she kind of shared her experience with Whoopi Goldberg, because Garcelle was actually trying out for The View, but I never heard anything about what might have gone down between she and Bill Cosby, so that's real interesting. We all know that Garcelle is very straightforward, so she asked Dorit, what's up with PK's DUI? And right away, Dorit's like, alleged DUI, because he was not booked and he was not arrested. So Garcelle says in her confessional that she read that the police drove him home. So Garcelle says that must be nice, because if it were her or any black person that she knows, that wouldn't go down. You're absolutely right, Garcelle. And I'm just going to leave that where it's at. So Dorit wants to know if Garcelle thinks that Erika is going to be drinking at the wine tasting. And the way that Dorit smiles, it was very much giving me the Grinch. It was just very like, tell me what you think. You know, it was just a very shady little smile she was giving off. And that got me to thinking, I really want to know what Dorit's feelings about Erika's drinking is. Because remember, guys, she was there when Erika cursed out Garcelle's son. She's been there actually a couple of times seeing Erika's behavior, and I remember that night Erika was kind of like all over Dorit, so I'd really like to know what her thoughts are. Garcelle reveals to Dorit that Erika fell and hit her head. Dorit was so surprised, she couldn't believe it. And Garcelle says that Erika has to figure things out, and Dorit totally agrees with her. So we see Dorit is acknowledging, yes, Erika has a problem. That's what I'm getting from this whole conversation. Garcelle also brings up the fact that Erika called her relationship with Sutton a liability, and that kind of threw Dorit off as well. Garcelle says to Dorit, I'm not going to let Sutton take me down. You know, like I'm a strong person. I just think it's laughable for Erika to have the nerve to try to call Sutton a liability when she has all of this stuff pending against her. Even this season early on when she was kind of trying to insinuate that maybe these alleged victims were lying about the whole situation. You know, so that's like I'm questioning your character at this particular point in time. It would have just been better for you to take the stance that you took last year and just keep your mouth shut. That's just my opinion. Now we're at home with Erika. She's there with Mikey and her assistant. And I'm just like, Mikey, I thought, and I said this before, but I thought he was just like her creative director as it related to like her concerts and stuff like that. And I know that he's more than just an employee of her. He's kind of become a friend, and he kind of seems to be outside of the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, and we all know they're not all friends like that, but he kind of seems like he's the only true friend, maybe besides Lisa Rinna, that Erika has, and that says a lot. So I can't even say that I'm sad for her about that. That just says a lot. Time you turn around, Erika is talking about her sex life this season. I'm like, you must have been through a drought with Tom. And I can't be entirely sure, based upon how she's acting now, if she was completely faithful to that man herself over their 20-year marriage. I mean, let's be real. Tom is 80 something years old. I know that men can still have babies at that age, but looking at him, he don't seem like he was, you know what I'm saying, getting it in. I'm just saying. That's my opinion. She talks about how she texted the wrong person. Thank you for giving me a great night. Let's just put it like that. And the other person responded like, no, I'm trying to get me some. I'm just like, girl, I don't know. Do y'all believe what she's saying or not? That's what I need to know. I have to also say, guys, but what, like, so y'all think this is always who Erika has been? She just tried to present a very polished demeanor when she was married with Tom. I mean, obviously she's still married with Tom, but when she was happily, I guess you could say, married with Tom, or is this is this an act? Let me know what y'all think. Lisa and Sutton hang out, and Rinna is talking about her wine, so Sutton kind of jokes, how come you didn't consult me about your wine? You know, I have great taste. Lisa's like, no, girl, I don't need you. I have great taste as well. So they kind of have like this playful, I mean what I say kind of situation going on. Sutton says that people ask her, why are you friends with Lisa? Or something like that, she says. And Lisa chimes in and says that people are scared of her. Girl, nobody's scared of you, Lisa Rinna. If that's what you believe that people feel about you in your mind, you're sadly mistaken. There's a lot of other things we think of you, but nobody is scared of you. Yeah, so Sutton says that she wants some bread, and Lisa is like, I've been told I need to have some bread in the past, and they show a flashback of Kim Richards, and that got me to thinking, can we get Kim back on the show? If Lisa has to stay on the show, because we know how cool she and Andy Cohen are, can we please have Kim Richards back on the show? Because one thing about Kim Richards dug into that you know what when it came to Lisa Rinna. Okay, I never seen anybody on the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills make Lisa Rinna so upset, so uncomfortable, other than Miss Kim Richards. I mean, we already have Kyle and Kathy, so Kim, please, girl, come to some events. Like, we need you. We really do. We really do. I'd love to see it. So Lisa brings up this whole charity thing, and it's like, girl, we've heard you talk about this charity situation with everybody. Lisa brings up Sutton's comments about the charity event, saying, you know, basically when Sutton said that she paid for a table and Harry nor Lisa said thank you. And I'm like, Lisa, at this point, you're beating a dead horse. Nobody cares. You're the only person who's feeling a certain ways about this at this particular point in time. I don't think your husband too much cared. I don't know why this is such an issue for you. You just reaching because you need a storyline. So she says to Sutton, I'm going to stop holding this grudge and I forgive you. She says that she's wanted to torture Sutton about this, and I guess if this is what you call torturing, I'll take it. I mean, like, really, you haven't done much of anything. Sutton calls Lisa the Grinch, and I think that she meant it in a derogatory way. She tries to make it seem like, oh, well, the Grinch has a big heart. No, girl, no, you meant it in the other way. Now we are at Lisa Rinna's wine tasting. Out of all the housewives, I feel like Lisa's house looks the most lived in. Like the kitchen, you can tell that they do a lot of cooking and all of that type of stuff, where Harry at least does a lot of cooking and experimenting. And so that's the one vibe that her house definitely gives me. It's not like, ooh, a house that's picture perfect, although I'm sure it probably is. It just comes across as very lived in to me. So Cherie arrives. This is the first time that we're seeing her thus far in the episode, and homegirl, she looks great. Okay, she looks really, really cute. So she sits down and they're serving some of Lisa's wine, and Lisa can't remember the name of the wine that Cherie is drinking. So in my head, I'm like, girl, we off to a bad start already, and you ain't even put this wine out yet. Erika, Sutton, and Dorit arrive. Lisa asks Erika, so what are you drinking? And Erika says her drink of choice, of course, is chamomile tea. In her confessional, Dorit questions if she should be concerned about Erika's drinking. So Garcelle arrives in her beautiful designer outfit, and I'm like, hold up, are Garcelle and Dorit switching outfits today? Because Dorit seems, and I'm not saying that Garcelle is plain Jane, but for Dorit is dressed very plainly, and Garcelle's outfit is very loud and in your face. So Dorit is like, like, Garcelle, you had the nerve to talk about me last year with all my labels and how it's given off, but look at you. And I'm like, you know what, Dorit, you're absolutely right. This is a double standard, Garcelle, okay? I'm gonna call it like it is. Erika reminds us that she hasn't given up all of her assets with that big old ring that she almost broke Harry's knuckles with. I'm just like, Erika, please have a seat somewhere. So somehow the ladies get to talking, and they're saying, like, who put everything together for this wine tasting. They all know it's pretty much Harry, not Lisa, okay? Harry seems to be more domesticated than Lisa Rinna, and there's nothing wrong with that. So they're trying to figure out, like, well, if Harry does all the work, what is Lisa really good at? And somebody mentions her giving Harry blowjobs, so they want to know, Harry, on a scale of 1 to 5, how are Lisa's blowjobs? And Harry takes about 3 days to answer this question. Now, I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt and say he probably was thrown off by this conversation. This is probably not something that, the great Harry Hamlin discusses with people. So maybe that's why he was apprehensive to say anything, or took a long time to say anything. But at the end of the day, when it was all said and done, 3 hours later, he says that Lisa is a 10. So here goes messy Erika bringing up Crystal's eating disorder. She's like, I just have to, put it out there. Why do you feel like you have to put it out there? I don't understand how you don't want your stuff talked about, but it's okay for you to talk about everybody else's stuff. And something so sensitive as an eating disorder, this is not the time, in my opinion, or place to sit and discuss that, especially when that individual is not there. Now, if you guys are really concerned about her, then you will pull her to the side and have a conversation. But to me, this is all leading up to some mess. So Lisa Rinna and Erika both question why Crystal doesn't get any help for her eating disorder. Erika, might I remind you that you seem to have developed a drinking problem? How come you're not receiving any help for that? Okay? This is not a conversation you need to be talking about. I think you should sit this one out. Secondly, can I just point out, Lisa and Rinna, out of all of the women here, have been on the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills the longest. However, they're the two that we know the least about, as far as, especially Lisa Rinna. Like, aside from her being married to Harry Hamlin and having her 2 daughters that are models, I don't know nothing else about the lady. I really don't. So here y'all are trying to sit up here and bring somebody else's baggage to the floor when we don't know nothing about yours. I think that's very interesting. They're always trying to deflect on other people instead of letting us in on who they are. But even in their deflections, we know who Lisa Rinna and Erika Jane are. We see right through y'all. Sutton is saying, well, maybe she is getting some help. She says in her confessional that she doesn't like the fact that they're sitting here talking about Crystal and Crystal is not there to defend herself. At first I was like, Sutton, now last year you ain't have no problem sitting up there telling us what you thought about Erika. But then I thought maybe Sutton has learned her lesson and she feels a different way. Like, can't we all change our minds? So I'm going to give Sutton a pass on that one. Now the women are tasting the wine and I'm looking at Harry like, Harry, is this your wine? Because all the stuff you doing right now, it seemed like you know more about the wine than Lisa does. I'm just saying. So Dorit says that she has a friend who's into Garcelle, and I wanted to hear a little bit more about this friend personally, but Erika chimes in, and again, here she goes talking about her sex life. Erika, nobody cares. Everybody pretty much likes Lisa's wine. I think that they said that the rosé was really good. It's ready to go. But there was another wine that needed some more work. So Lisa said she's going to go back and try to figure it out. So Lisa takes everybody up so they can eat. And Garcelle pulls Erika to the side. She wants to discuss this whole comment about Sutton being a liability. She's not able to wrap her head around exactly what Erika means. So Erika's thing is she feels like Garcelle always has to clean up and take care of Sutton based on the things that Sutton sometimes says about people that might not be the best thing to say. And Garcelle says, girl, that's what friends do. Like, I'm just being a friend to her. Erika doesn't know how to be a real friend. I mentioned to you guys earlier that it seems like Mikey, outside of Lisa Rinna, is her only friend. I never hear her talk about anybody else. So could it be that she just doesn't know how to be a friend? That's what it's given to me. So Garcelle asks Erika if it's okay for Sutton to be a part of the conversation. Erika's like, no, I don't think this is the time. I think this is the perfect time. The other group is up there with Lisa, and it would be you, Garcelle, and Sutton. What other time would you be looking for to have this conversation unless you want to have the conversation in front of an audience? Garcelle then asks Erika, does she think that Garcelle would stand up for her, meaning Erika? And Erika's like, no, you've made your position pretty clear on everything that was going on. Last year, it seems like you don't believe the things that I was saying. And Garcelle's like, yeah, you're right. It's just like, listen, I love her honesty in this moment. I love that she's telling Erika, no, I don't believe what you were saying. I was not picking up what you was trying to put down. Erika says that she feels as if Garcelle has her sights set on her and she hasn't done anything to Garcelle. She feels like Garcelle is being judgmental. Just like you judge. I mean, like everybody, if you hear something about somebody, you're going to form an opinion. You're going to judge that person based on what you hear until you hear something different. That's normal. What else can you say after Garcelle says, I don't believe the things that you've said? So they decide to go join the rest of the ladies. Right away, we see that Sutton is ready to let Erika have it. She says to Erika straight up, I don't like that I've been called a liability as a friend. If you felt like that, you don't go tell her. And she points at Garcelle. She says, you come and tell me. So I'm trying to figure out, like, hold up, who had a conversation with Sutton about being a liability? Because as far as I know, the only two people who know that would be Garcelle, of course, and Dorit. So they show a flashback and they show that Garcelle, right before they went down for the wine tasting, or just after they finished the wine tasting, let Sutton know what Erika said. So Erika goes on to try to explain her thing with, Garcelle always having to clean up. And Garcelle's like, I don't understand why it's such a big deal for me to be a good friend to her, for me to support her and defend her and stick up for her. And I don't know why either, because Lisa, Kyle, sometimes Dorit, they've all sat up there and defended and stuck up for Erika. So when you try to do the same thing for Sutton, it's an issue. I want to know why these women have such an issue with Sutton. Like, yes, Sutton says some things that she probably shouldn't say, but they're, to me, never like crazy, outrageous things that she says. So I feel like they just don't like Sutton because they just don't like Sutton. At this point, that's what it's given. And the whole thing about Sutton saying what she said about Lisa and Harry is to prove, like, Lisa, you're a hypocrite. How dare you say that Garcelle didn't thank your husband for the sauce, but you didn't thank me for these seats that I purchased. So both Garcelle and Sutton look out for one another. Because honestly, if you look across this group, who's looking out for them? Lisa's getting all up in arms and she's getting all upset about this whole Harry thing again. And I'm like, Lisa, please chill the heck out, because you've already had your conversation with Sutton and you let her know that you've moved on. And now all of a sudden, because we're in a group setting, you seem to have an issue. And this is exactly what I don't like about Erika and Lisa. Now, I don't know, because Kyle is not there. They're trying to produce the show, but this production, this ain't it. Okay, because we don't care anymore about this whole situation. We believe Sutton. Sutton checked you and she let it be known. She had her receipts and she was ready for you, Lisa. So what are you so up in arms about? If you said that you moved on, move on. Sutton says that I don't know how many times I can apologize to you, but I'm sorry that I humiliated you about not thanking me for these seats. And I'm just like, Sutton, you are something else, girl, and I love it. She said, I'm sorry I humiliated you. Lisa says to Sutton, there's a reason why you want to hurt me. Take 5 effing seconds to figure it out. Sutton is like, I am not going to be cursed at. Lisa, Sutton don't want to hurt you, child. She's protecting her friend. Sutton says, Lisa, I don't understand where this is coming from. Lunch went very different. Lisa says that Sutton looks like a fool for trying to make her look bad. Lisa, you're delusional. She then proceeds to kick Sutton out of her house, but Sutton never leaves, and they just continue to discuss the matter. Sutton apologizes again. And that's pretty much the end of the episode, guys. So y'all let me know what y'all think. This is a hot mess. Both Lisa and Erika, y'all just want a moment. Please go have several seats. Just go sit down. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you in my next video. Bye-bye.